Somebody emailed me yesterday. They were attending one of the events I did in London, and they were asking, they were saying, well, I understand what you say when you say that everything is being, everything is this, this presence, this being. But I feel like somehow I lose touch with that when, I'm overwhelmed at work and feeling stressed and find myself identifying, as an individual who is stressed and, the whole kind of thing. We all know our own versions of that kind of scenario. And he said, do you have any suggestions for that? And what I said to him was that uh, our habit is to, in terms of what's appearing, what's here right now, the habit is really to orient to the descriptions of what it is, what we think it is, right? And it is that describing the rendering of what's appearing, um, out of which arises all, of course, the distinctions. This is different from that. This is not that, right? And the sense of there being all these disparate phenomena. And of course, also coming out of all that way we describe things is this perspective of kind of elevating one perception over another in terms of its its value, its meaningfulness, and also whether or not it's this singularity, right? So we hear this idea that there's one thing here, whatever word we give that, there's really no word for it, but let's call it being. And there's one being here, one existence appearing as all of this diversity. So how is it that we ever have a feeling like somehow we've lost that, right? Like it doesn't make any logical sense. If we recognize that there's one thing here being, then what gives rise to that feeling, that sense, that belief that somehow it's gone away, right? It is everything. So why do we seem to fall prey to this idea that, oh, wait a minute, where did it go? I've lost touch with it somehow. Anyone ever grapple with this? Um, I think it's the thing that people grapple with in all of this investigation. Um, and so I was suggesting to him that instead of orienting, as we tend to do, towards what we think things are, right? And then out of that again comes often the hierarchy of, well, this is closer to whatever it is I'm looking for, freedom or the oneness or God or whatever. That this somehow is it and this isn't it. This is closer to the reality than this moment, right? Based on how I'm describing it. So that's just that way of orienting to experience is fine, but it presents a kind of challenge to us as far as discovering the singularity, right? Because we're constantly focused on the way in which everything is distinct and seeming to miss the way in which all of it is one thing, all of it is the same. So I suggested to him kind of this shift of orientation from what you think everything is and how you're describing it, just appreciating the sheer existence of it, the sheer fact of its presence. And so I invite all of us to do that right now. Just as you're sitting here, there is what appears as this incredible multiplicity and diversity of flavors, of um, qualities, right? One moment distinct from the next. I mean, that's the hallmark, you could say, of experience in one sense, is the uniqueness of each moment, the feel of it right now. And then the next moment, it's not exactly the same. In the next moment, it's not exactly the same in terms of how it appears, right? It's incredible diversity. You look in the visual field, you see nothing but diversity, right? One color from the next, one texture from the next. In the whole field of thought. I mean, one thought distinct from the next, or the whole realm of emotions, one emotional tone distinct from the next emotional tone, distinct, right? Nothing but uniqueness from one instant to the next in terms of its qualitative, sort of feel. But all of it simply is, right? Here's the moment. It's really like, let it be that simple. Here is the moment. Yes, in all of its diversity, but feel it as what it is, which is all of it, this presence of being, of, well, there's no word, but the fact of it, and the here it is. Everything. This is it. Everything all at once. Yes, in all of its diversity, but one fact of being. If your life were a motion picture, um, here's the movie that's showing up. Very alive, very dynamic, but one appearance, one movie, right? Here it is. One waking dream. And as you notice this common feature of everything, the fact of its presence, of its existence, just appreciate how absolutely indestructible this fact is, this fact of what is. Like, it doesn't matter what gets thrown into it, what circumstance happens, seemingly, what situation is occurring, what feeling, sensation, thought is arising or not arising. Like, it's just indestructibly itself, the fact of this, isn't it? It's unbreakable. It doesn't matter what is happening, you see? Because everything that's happening is this one fact of being. You feel that? How unbreakable it is. And that this unbreakable fact of being is exactly what you are, right? You're not apart from it, noticing it. Because whatever I might think of as myself is more of this fact of being, right? The perceiver and the perceived are both appearing in this instant, the presence of this. And yes, it appears in each instant differently, but it's always, right? It's like the appearance is always different, one moment from the next, but the appearing, the fact of this appearing, of this miracle of existence, is never changes. And it's not something we're creating now as a function of looking at it and inquiring into it, right? It's simply here. Whether it's being quote unquote noticed or not, it's because in a moment where we might describe the moment as not really noticing the fact of being, the fact of this appearing, the fact of this existence, this presence, well, that's a present existing moment. There's the fact of it. In other words, that's what I mean by it doesn't matter whether it's being noticed or not noticed, it is still the fact of being, the fact of this. Here, immediately, like always in this instant, just here, effortlessly. No effort is required, right? Just completely relax into that truth that nothing needs to be done to make this here. This is here. This is life giving rise to itself, for lack of a better way to put it. The moment being. Being all of this difference and distinction, but all of it is. the fact of being, the simple truth of being. Here, inexplicably, magically, mysteriously, miraculously. Constantly, seemingly transforming one instant from the next, its shape, its form, but always this indestructible being. You feel how it cannot be lost, that it is the only thing that exists. How can it be lost? There's nothing outside of it. The only thing that we can ever lose is experience, right? Which we're losing all the time. And yet, strangely enough, despite the ever vanishing nature of each moment, there's the sense of this always being here at the same time. It's very paradoxical. It's unwavering, this presence of being, although it seems to be so slippery in its ever disappearing, ever vanishing impermanence. We don't have to have any particular, get ourselves into any particular state of noticing this, of being aware of this, of remembering this, because this is here, moving, flowing forth, if you will, as every state, everything we might describe as a momentary state of consciousness. All of it is this appearing, this, as I said, fact of existence, of being. So no particular experience or perception is going to bring us closer to this or take us further away from this, which is why we can just allow everything to be as it is. This is already the great perfection, the great miracle.